Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy.
Hi, and I'm Carla.
And together we are the
EFFing
Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It. Good morning. We have to go from work mode
I know. That was so good. Good morning. Happy Monday. It's like literally the switch that goes into gear with we're ready. We're ready. It's Monday. It's Motivation Monday. And we are ready to bring you some motivating stories from one of our amazing Monday Madres. We are the EFFing Madres, and this is Carla. I am Romy. And every Monday we share a story with another Madre. Why can't I say it right now? I can't roll my tongue today for some reason.
Madre,
At all.
madre.
Yeah, I'll let you do it. My tongue is not doing it right now. But this mom will basically come on and share an epic moment that she's had, an epic moment that she wants to have, or she's currently in. And really just inspiring stories for those of us that have also had fuck it moments, want to have fuck it moments, or in the middle of our fuck it moment. And for those of you joining us for the first time, Carla and I are in our fuck it moment. Mm-hmm. That's how we got a podcast.
That's why we're here, people.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
We just said fuck it.
Yeah. And doing something at least I never thought I'd do. So here we are.
And we're in the double digits of episodes. We're way ahead. We've got people booked into the new year. I mean, we're planning events for, people in Los Angeles and here and all of us moms to get together. I mean, it's really exciting to see where it goes once you just say F it.
Yeah, super exciting to the endless opportunities when you say F it. Exactly.
Yes.
Who do we have coming on?
Yeah, so this is actually a mom that I have followed on Instagram since I became a mom. Obviously, when we become mothers, we follow all the mom pages, and she had this great page with strong as a mother on these t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff. And so naturally, as a mother, I was scrolling Instagram and I was like, I'm going to buy one. So I bought one. And from there, I've just always followed her, and she has always I've purchased some of her shirts and her sweatshirts. And so when we started this, she actually reached out about sending you and I a strong as a mama shirt, which I loved because it was so appropriate with what we're doing.
Yeah, totally.
And the minute she did that, I was like, oh, obviously, she's had to have had an epic moment, and I'd love to get to know her. So this will be the first time that I'm chatting with her. Another crazy thing that happens through the mother world of Instagram sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You just know each other through social media, and it's so cool to actually get to see faces and hear a little bit more about who these moms are. So I'm very excited to hear.
Yeah, that's super cool. Super excited to hear her story. All right. So, and her name is
Tamara.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to bring her in just a second.
All right, guys, we have our Monday Madre. Ooh, I did it. Yay, I did it. We have Tamara on, and she is the owner of Strong as a Mother. Mm-hmm. We were just talking about the shirts that we got from you, which we love and we're so grateful for.
Thank you.
She's got one on. Yes, she's coming to us all the way from Canada, and so that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. First Canadian.
Oh,
First
Canadian.
yeah, guess.
Good. Starting strong. That's it.
Yeah. So we are just going to dive right on into it. And Carla, I'm going to let you start this interview.
All right, Tamara. When did you decide to just F it and why? Or are you deciding right now to F it and why?
Yeah. It's a real ongoing process for so many of us, isn't it?
Yes.
The way that I've done that is just to say that I'm going to be my own hero, that I'm tired of waiting around to be rescued or saved or stood up for, and that I'm just going to do that for myself. And in owning that strength that I have, I'm going to teach that to my son, that, he's going to have a mom who is strong enough to go through anything with him. I will never falter. I will never fail him. And that it doesn't matter what it is, that I will always be there for him, and I can handle anything with him.
When you said just F it and kind of took on this space of your own hero and how you're going to show up as a mom, I'm assuming prior to this kind of moment, you didn't maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, know that strength. Is this something new that you're falling into?
Funny. Not really. And those who are around me would think that that's not new for me. But It is in the sense that I won't, I guess that I'll open up to him and tell him the whys. I've been a strong person for my entire life, and the people in my family, actually, funnily enough, call me the strong one in the family, but it became so that they could divest themselves of responsibility to take care for me when I needed it the most. So I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was 6 years old, and that's a pretty devastating physical disability. It's resulted in over 16 surgeries throughout my life, starting when I started university, and most recently, a year ago, for my shoulder. I've had like loads of joint replacements and soft tissue work. Um, and so, because I had to put up with childhood pain and childhood chronic illness and surgeries and physios and all of those things, I think everyone, just assumed that I could handle it. And I had a terrible childhood at the same time as having a really great one. The reason that I had arthritis was because I was sexually abused at a really young age. And through work now, I'm working kind of through it with a counselor, but also because I'm a writer. I've been was a journalist for 20 years. And so I'm a writer and I need to kind of work through it on paper.
Yeah.
And I now know that because I didn't have help when I was being abused, and even when it was discovered, I didn't have any sort of counseling or working through it, that my body was trying to scream out to communicate for me that which I couldn't share and that which wasn't seen. And so even when it was discovered, it was again, well, she's the strong one, so she'll get through. So, in terms of my parenting and how I just recently did have that as the F it moment, um, my abuser passed away a year ago. And, without ever having had any justice or any treatment, discussion with my family about it. And I just decided when he left this world that, you know what, that's it. I don't have this heavy weight upon my shoulders anymore. But also, I need to be able to own up to everything that happened and talk to my son about it. And he's 13
Yeah.
and he's very bright. And so I'm not going to give him the nitty gritty details, but he's got to know why I am the way I am and why my family says that about me.
So you're saying that because of the trauma, that essentially manifested in your physical ailment, correct?
Absolutely. And that's coming out through some of the research that I'm doing.
Yeah.
If you've heard of Dr. Gabor Mate, he's here in Vancouver, and he talks about how issues like trauma can manifest in joints and in bodies and can come out through addictive behaviors.
Yes.
And so he deals with a lot of that, and he's fascinating.
There
Yeah.
was a quote on Instagram today on one of the psychology pages that I follow, which is of many, and it was basically like your trauma will come out in a physical form if you're silent about it. Like if you're not speaking
Yes,
about it or letting it out, it's going to find its way. And
absolutely.
it's just what you're saying is so true, and how you said
Mm-hmm.
you need to like write it out or get it out
Yep.
or share it like you're doing now, or
Mm-hmm.
get release it. It is healing to the internal and external part of your body.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. And, as a journalist, I sort of approached this as okay, I've always known since I was a kid that this is why I've had this illness. I've known. I just couldn't kind of articulate it and I didn't have the science to back me. And then it was actually several years ago that I came across Dr. Vincent Felitti, who wrote about the ACE study. He actually started the ACE study, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences. And he correlates childhood experiences where they're not dealt with well, where there's no therapy, where there's sweeping under the rug, where we're made to feel re-traumatized again and again by being in the same room with the person, or going through various traumas in your life, and they sort of add up, and you get an ACE score. And mine's really high because of the things that I went through, and that then those have a long-term correlation with adult disease and illness. And so I've interviewed Dr. Felitti for the book. I'm working with him on it. And it's a tough thing to get through. And it's been tough to have to do it almost like under the cover of darkness so that I
Yeah.
could keep it on my computer without my son seeing it. And I just realized this is my story. And he knows me as the strong mom, but I'd like him to know why. So I've started to
Yeah.
open up about it recently.
That leads me to my next question, which is when you've gotten to this place, which you're kind of in the middle of it right now, which I love because that's part of this podcast is sharing people that have in it, want it, or going through it, whatever it may be. It feels like you're kind of going through that right now. What did you like do about it? What are you doing about it? So
Mm.
what are you doing about this F it moment?
Therapy, you know. So for me, taking care of myself and prioritizing my healing and
Yeah.
also sinking into that strength that I've had to call upon it for various reasons in a frustrating life. I'm a businesswoman. I own several stores, and it's tough to get ahead as a woman who's also expected to carry most of the burden at home. Frankly, the emotional labor, the list making, the rugby practice and games, and all that stuff that we just take on because we're the
That's what
moms
we
and
do.
we're the ones that so-called at home. I'm in one of my stores right now, and I stay at them until very late at night, or I work on it at home, plus handling all those things. Um, I just, uh, owning that strength gives me now the permission to say no, to say that's not serving me,
Mhm.
to say that that's not serving my son. And so we're not going to do it that way anymore. And I have yet a couple of things to do in terms of the healing and the fallout from my abuser dying because his family has questions that have arisen since his death. So I'm almost like steeling myself, steeling my nerves, preparing myself for the conversations because I said to the people left, I'm not going to talk to you about this while you're still in mourning. And it's, I guess, coming up probably on a year anniversary soon. So they'll come knocking again, and I'll have to be ready to share the truth with them. But it's like his daughters, and I don't know exactly how the hell I'll do that
Oh,
yet. So,
Mm.
yeah, I've got strength, but that'll be the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, that just gave me like
Yeah,
it's
that's
heavy.
that's a hard one.
yeah.
I don't know how to
Mhm.
do that one yet.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So his daughters know that something happened with
Mm-hmm.
you and are probably going to be coming around and ask you to have that
Yes,
conversation with them.
they
Wow.
already have. He
Wow.
wrote his own obituary, and he's a close
Oh.
family member, and he deleted me from it. He basically said that he had fewer sisters because it was my brother, fewer sisters
Oh.
than he actually did. And when it came out and I asked his girlfriend, like, who forgot to add me into the obituary, she said he wrote it himself, and you know why. Like, so he's been kind of perpetuating something, some form of his truth to his family for this, for our whole lifetimes, certainly for his adult daughter's lifetimes. And now I am going to be the bad aunt who comes in with my version of the truth. And I don't know how to do that. So I can be
Right.
strong in public.
It's almost like putting you or putting women into an even another space that isn't deserving when you're put into this
It's
place. You
like
know what I mean? Like
re-traumatizing again.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's what it's like a new
Mm-hmm.
way of yes, what you just said.
Yep. And I mean, they don't live in the same province I do. They live one over. So we're not in each other's lives. And I think they blame me for that. But it wasn't that I didn't want to be in their lives, it's that I didn't want to be in their dad's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the sort of, I know why I am like a crazy, hyper businesswoman. I start brands and I start open stores and because we're running from stuff, right?
You
Like,
know, it's just you get so busy sometimes or you take on so much sometimes,
mhm,
and I've 100% have been guilty of that in my life. And sometimes it is because it's sitting still with what's up sometimes
mhm,
going on. It's just easier to go, 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 go. I have a struggle. I know a lot of moms do with over putting things on our plate
mhm.
to sometimes just make the day so busy and so scattered that you don't have to really deal with anything. So I do. I mean, it makes you successful and driven, but it is also time sometimes in our lives to say, F it, I need to
Mhm.
deal with that childhood stuff that's sitting in me as an
Definitely.
adult, as a mother
Mhm.
that has not been dealt with.
Yeah. I always kind of like I got to this point where I thought, well, I've dealt with it. Like I'm
Yeah.
actually okay with what happened and the betrayal really by my parents and all that kind of stuff. And like, I thought, well, at what point is my arthritis going to go away? Because I've dealt with this and I feel really strong and I feel like I've overcome it all. And I would have thought when I was younger that when I dealt with it all and I was a really strong woman, that then this disease would leave my body. And I think that was really naive because it's so deeply rooted. And it's still screaming for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like in a way, it almost doesn't go away completely. It will always be a part of like your blueprint. Unfortunately, that's what happens with trauma. You just learn how to deal with it and learn how to live with it and be able to confront it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least the things that I have heard when it comes to that. But I would think that once you start learning those coping mechanisms and learning to deal with it in a way that you become more at peace, hopefully physically, that also correlates as well.
That's my
I
hope.
mean, I would assume, yeah, I hope for your sake and anyone else who's suffering from these ailments that manifest from trauma. I would think
Mm-hmm.
that if when you get to a point of peace, you start feeling better. I hope. I
That's
really
my
do hope.
hope. I,
Yeah.
I I have a ways to go with that still, which is why, you know, I won't ever say that I've had my F it moment and I've moved past and I've become this new person. It's kind of like a daily choice, especially with chronic illness and chronic pain. Every day is a battle, and I choose to do battle every day. That I just live my life, and I hope that I am a good just a good role model because of that, not only to my son, but anybody that is listening that might glean some insight from my story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how is getting to this effort moment? How is it making you feel emotionally and mentally? Where are you at?
Well, we go through cycles, don't we, as women? Because sometimes I just feel like I could take on the world. And other
Mm.
times I feel like I could just curl into a ball. But the
Yes.
thing is, in the situation that I'm in right now, there's not really anyone else to take the load. And I honestly haven't shared the load and I haven't been able to have someone help me for so long that I don't even think if I had someone in my life who was as strong as I am, I don't think I would let them. I don't think I'd let go of much of anything. You could call me a control freak if you didn't know where that came from. So, right? Yeah, girlfriend. Yes. Coping mechanisms all the way.
100%.
Because there's not, like, things would fall to shit otherwise,
Yeah.
emotionally and in your life, details wise.
I wish that there could be like a retreat for those of us that are control freaks where they like force us for a weekend to like have no control of anything and
Oh my
just face
God.
because like
Gives me
I would lose my
palpitations.
shit. I know I would lose my shit.
God, like I can't even relax in a 1 hour massage this
Yeah.
morning without racing and thinking I got to make notes and do.
I'm the same way. And I don't
Oh,
even think I've actually pinpointed that it's trauma. So I'll revisit
mm,
that in therapy
please
coming up this
do.
Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Put that one on your note.
Yeah, that'll be on the notes.
Mm,
My next question though for you then would be in this moment, because you're in it right now, what do you think this is going to do for you and your family?
mm. Well, let's see here. This is funny. A girlfriend and I talk about this, and she said such a good thing. She said she's got twins, twin boys, and she said, about mothering, that she just wants to raise good men. And honestly, that is my number one goal in life. I have my businesses and I have my brands and I'm making sales and I'm doing important things. But that is first and foremost the most important thing that will ever happen. We need to raise good men. We don't need these masculine men and we don't need toxic men. We just need to raise really freaking good human beings
Yeah.
who are happy and settled and know that they are loved and feel strength and can handle shit. And so, I will never get off that path now.
Yeah.
No.
And men that understand that they can feel their emotions and they can show their
Yes,
emotions and that doesn't like demasculate them. Like
absolutely.
they they need to be able to be in touch with their emotions because that's also trauma for men too. Like there are a lot of
Oh,
men that suffer from
yeah.
so much depression because they have to hold all that stuff in and it's
Yes.
so yeah, it's so like it's such a horrible thing for them
It
to go
is.
through. So I'm really happy to hear that you're like, yes, men need to be your son and boys and all that need
Mm-hmm.
to be raised differently.
Oh,
Like
they
the
do.
societal norm of how masculine needs to change.
Hmm. It was interesting because I'm Ukrainian and we had a rally here last week for Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were getting out of the car, I don't even know how we started talking about this, but he came with me and he said, you're really strong and like I don't see you cry. And I really admire that. And I was like, oh, dude, that's not necessarily something to admire because sometimes that means that a person is having trouble processing those harder emotions. And maybe they got
I was like,
rewarded
Carla, that's
for not
Carla
Yeah.
right
showing
there.
those, right? But
That's yeah.
then we went to this public square by where our rallies take place by our art gallery, and he and I are very demonstrative, affectionate with each other. He's 13 and he's a tall boy, so he holds me in his arms. It's really sweet, and he smooches me, and we're standing there, and my chest starts heaving, and I start sobbing because I see all these Ukrainian flags, and I know of all the people that are on the front line, and they've become friends on Twitter because I'm doing charity work with these amazing human beings. And I mean, I said to him, I cry at rallies, okay? So, like, this is the thing. I've been going to rallies since I was a kid, go to the Women's March, go to science marches, go to these things, and I cannot control myself. So I was like, now you're seeing that Mama does break down sometimes. And thanks for having me. He was holding
Yeah.
me at the time. It was amazing. And he
Mhm.
looked at me with surprise and wonderment, and it was amazing.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, that resonates with me so hard because it's like I have always been looked at as like the strong one, but
Mm,
inside there's all sorts of shit going on, and it's just
yeah.
really hard for me to show externally what's going on because it's been programmed in me to not do that,
Yes.
unfortunately. And
Yes.
so like even when my husband sees me cry, like he kind of freezes because he's like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh my god,
That's
Carla's
when you
crying?
know
What?"
it's getting real. That's when you know it's getting
Yeah.
scary. Well, and we've
Yeah.
been rewarded so much for not falling to pieces. But then
Yes.
you don't know how and you don't know when you can, so you never do.
Right.
So I always think like I'm 50. I turned 50 last December, so I'm almost 51. And I think, how is this prematurely aging me? Like I want not only to have this wonderful son and to have done a great job, but I want to be here for him as long as I possibly can. And I
Yeah.
panic thinking that he's an only child. And what happens if I go? Because this disease that I have is really hard on my body, and the drugs that I'm on to fight it cause a lot of side effects, including predisposition to certain cancers. And
Mm.
so I think, like, what happens if I go early and he's left to deal with all this by himself? So I have sort of like these sort of panic moments, and I think, is stuffing all these emotions down aging me and putting undue stress on is probably raising my inflammation rate. Mm.
Well, yeah. Because I mean, well, yes, because stress and all of that cortisol, like
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that releases in our system, and that can cause
Yes.
a lot of physical ailments for sure.
Oh,
So,
I'm going to
yes.
be
devastating.
dropping by next year then. The amount of stress I live in. Like,
Ah,
it's
well.
been real, guys.
Nice to know ya.
Nice to know ya.
uh,
So since you're, in this now, I guess how the way I could word this is like, so then what fears are essentially coming up for you, or what fears do you think may come up for you, and how do you think you can keep pushing forward?
mhm. Um, I just want the truth to be out. And so I
Mm,
don't think I have many fears right now. I'm
Mm.
impatient and I sort of like in terms of the growth of my business and all of the plans that I have, because I've got really exciting things going on. Um, and I just kind of want to have these conversations with my nieces, three girls, um, and have it be out there. And of course, as a journalist, I'm like, let's get to the truth. Let's tell the truth. But I don't think I'm going to be believed. Um,
mm.
and I don't know if that's a fear or if that's just more like I'm going to have to learn to come to grips with that because they're going to obviously side with whoever has been giving them the information for the longer amount of time, or that suits the narrative that they've put in their mind about their dad. Um, Yeah, and I'm not afraid necessarily of having the talk with them. I think it's going to be the hardest thing that I've ever done, and certainly extremely uncomfortable. I don't want to hurt them, but I need to not be covering up anymore. I've spent most of my life doing that. I'm over it. It's done. I can't do it anymore.
Right. And I mean, at the end of the day, you have to be true to yourself, and you
Yeah.
can't control how anyone else is going to perceive you and think of you. You can't. So you just need to be as honest and truthful as you possibly can to yourself. And you
Absolutely.
can be at peace with that,
And
regardless what
like
they think.
know that I showed my son, who won't obviously be there for those conversations, but know that I modeled honesty even when it's scary and when it'll hurt
Mhm.
somebody, but to not sacrifice yourself anymore for people.
Yeah.
No, we really
Yes.
have to like find our truth. And I think that is
Mhm.
like ultimately the F it moment for everyone is like it's some sort of like reality check within yourself, some sort
Mhm.
of truth that's like dying to come out, in each
Absolutely.
one of us. And whether it comes when we're 40 or 50 or 60 or 70
Mhm.
or fucking 80, you know what I mean? At some point,
Mhm.
hopefully that fuck it moment surfaces and you get in touch with
Yep.
some sort of truth in you, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, my next question then would be, what advice would you give to, another mother out there going through this as well? What advice
Mhm.
would you give to them?
Um, I feel like I was gaslit for so long. And I know that's a real trendy term right now.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of us go through it. I was gaslit by my parents and by my family. And I wrote in my journal recently, you don't tell me who I am, I tell you who I am. And so my advice is to know, if you know in your core who you are and someone is mistreating you or representing you wrongly or trying to tell you that you're crazy or that your experience is not what you experienced, which is obviously like the classic definition of gaslighting, stand the fuck up for yourself and be a good role model for your kids, because do you want them to go through the same things that you went through for the sake of someone else's comfort? I refuse to do that. I will not, for my parents' comfort, for my brother's comfort, for my nieces, I will not sacrifice myself for my son. No way. It's done. So dig deep, get to know who you are, and believe in your version of what happened to you, because you have nothing to gain from lying in the end. And carry it with strength. Have an iron spine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% to all of
Yeah.
that. That, yes, that I think that's such a powerful message for everybody right now, and for us as moms and our children,
absolutely.
and what we show them and what we're leaving them. Um, I want to thank you so much for joining us and for sharing
Yes.
this story and for being vulnerable and open and honest, because it's through these stories when we do get real that other women and moms can connect and not feel
Hmm.
alone.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that's what we want here, is for all of us to know, hey, you're not alone, like you
Hmm.
you are strong and you can get through this, and we're all going through this together. Can you at this point share some places that people can find you and follow you and your
I
businesses?
love
We'd
it.
love to promote it and share it. So
Love
so
it.
put all of those out there for people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the brand, of course, is Strong as a
Yes.
Mother, and it's strongasamother.club. And then I'm standing in my store. You can see Jar Bar logo right there. My store is
Yay.
delishgeneralstore.com. And I'm hopefully going to be franchising and like taking it
Yay.
across the world. Yes, yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
That's a
And everybody
very
can
nice.
follow you at Strong as a Mother Club
Yeah,
on Instagram.
right. And Delish
Get your
General Store
guys's.
on
I think
Instagram too.
everybody should get them a Strong as a Mama shirt
Oh, I
because we love
seriously hope
ours.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You two look so gorgeous in them. Thank you so much.
Oh,
You rock
Thank
them.
you.
we
Oh
love
my
From
them.
God.
We love them.
Thank you. Yeah, they're amazing.
thanks for having
Yeah.
me on. I really love what you're doing.
I've followed you and I've worn your shirts and messaged you for so many years now since I became a mother. And it's just like, I'm so grateful that I get to know you on a deeper level and,
Thank you.
get this time with you. So thank you for responding and being open to doing this with us. Cause without you and your stories, we don't have this space at all. So
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so
we,
cathartic. Holy cow. I
Isn't
feel
it?
Yeah.
It is.
I
We
feel a
Yeah.
feel
little
that way
lighter.
too after.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
bet you do. You probably sleep
Yeah.
so
Totally.
well those nights after interview.
Well,
It's been, yeah, no, we stay up late with it, but it's definitely, we feel like, I think all of us, when we share our story and we talk it out and we talk through it, it's such a healing experience.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that. I hope other mothers as well feel that and want to share it for those reasons.
So this is where we're
Yes.
gonna do we're gonna end it with our just F it.
Okay.
So
Just
Just
F
F
it.
it.